Hello. They might have been right. Right. Yeah, that's true. Which I love all of it. I'm confused about Sting though. Like, uh, what is Sting's role going to be? Is he somebody who's actually going to be an in-ring performer? Is he a manager? He's got a multi-year contract. There was something kind of surreal about hearing Tony Schiavone scream, "It's Sting!" Um, that harken back to the glory days of wrestling and all. But I just don't know where this payoff's going to go. I really don't. Right. Yeah, there was a lot of excitement with it, and it like I said, there was that surreal moment when you got Tony Schiavone screaming that it Sting's here. Um, that was really cool. But again, it's for me, it's like running Ric Flair out there at this point. I love to see him out there, but at the same time, what's he gonna do? I don't even know. Can he even wrestle anymore after his broken neck? Can he take bumps? So okay. Well, because I know, is this another Bret Hart back to WWF situation? Are they going to have a horrible match like Bret and Vince had, or is he just going to, like you said, he's never been good on the mic. It's not like he's Arn Anderson or Jake Roberts. He's not going to be able to, uh, you know, cut a promo to send chills down everybody's spine. He's and with his character, I mean, his character, except for that 1 year that he was kind of the Joker in TNA, and then of course his um, main event Mafia run. He's never really been the kind of character that talks a lot anyway. Well, not since '97 anyway. So, I mean, before then, the bleach blonde surfer dude, he did cut a few promos, but '80s wrestling promos is a whole lot different than what you need to have today. right. So it just it as a wrestling fan, it was a cool experience. It was, but as a you know, I don't know if I want to call myself an analyst or not, but I guess that's essentially what we're doing. I don't I don't like it because it's just another nostalgia act being run out. Another just because this is different than like a Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts, yeah, nostalgia act because everyone remembers, how frightening he is just on the mic and everything. But he's also still out there cutting promos and being a pretty damn good manager. Same thing with Arn. Same thing with Taz. They're nostalgia acts, but they serve a purpose. This is just a nostalgia act to be a nostalgia act. That is true. I think the pairing of him and Darby would be really cool. Right. Well, and the thing with Darby Allin too is it's really weird that Darby comes out of just that little moment better off because all they did was have a little stare down. It's not like there was anything that was really done. Right, exactly. And so he got that rub from Sting without really having to do anything, which was also a cool moment because you don't get that. There's I can't think of another wrestler out there that could give that kind of rub without saying a word. I even Yeah, yeah, you're right. Probably Undertaker, but you're not going to get that out of a Hogan or a Flair, even or Bret Hart or anyone like that. They're not going to be able just to walk out there, stare at you, and you come out the other side better. Oh God, no, no. I don't even think Bret could at this point. Um, but yeah, right, right, right. But yeah, that was a good moment. I still the thing at the end, I did get a little bit irritated with the announcers going off about Kenny using the microphone, how he broke his own gentleman's agreement. I felt, yeah, and when they kept calling him, oh, he's a piece of crap because he broke his own agreement and everything. But wait a minute, Moxley broke it first, and all that Kenny really did was hit him with an object that was a padded microphone. So it's not like it was him bashing him over the head with a chair. Love you too. Um, right. Yeah. And Moxley was more violent throughout the entire match. I mean, a gentleman's agreement. They never should have been outside the ring in the first place. They never should have been throwing each other into barriers and all that stuff. It was supposed to be a gentleman's agreement, pure wrestling match, basically. And it broke down right from the start. And that was the one thing I hated about this entire show was the fact that they kept screaming about how Kenny's a dirtbag because he broke the gentleman's agreement, and then the whole Don Callis thing at the end was just an overbooked mess. Um, I I wonder if Access is on Hulu. Well, I mean, it's going to be recapped on AEW. So, oh yeah, absolutely. There's so much greatness that we have in store for us, like the Bucks versus Motor City Machine Guns, FTR versus Motor City Machine Guns. There's just so much that I'm. Oh my God, there's so much greatness, so much greatness, and it's about time. It's about time a big American company actually has a working agreement with a smaller company. I mean, you can say, yeah, WWF and ECW did back in '97, but was that really anything? It was just ECW showing up on WWF TV a couple times. There was really no matches. There was really no feuds. There was um, nothing that came out of it. And of course, WWF didn't go back the other way. Oh, exactly. Yeah, I agree. Right. Yeah, and then it got to be terrible. I mean, there for a while, it was a lot of fun seeing them. You know, since they were independent contractors, being able to work for Ring of Honor. But once yeah, you're right. Once they started saying, "Hey, we need exclusive contracts so we can run with WWF," it became a mess. Yeah, and wasn't he the champ of Ring of Honor during that time, or was it a little bit later? Okay. Yeah. All in all, I thought this was a good episode. I am happy that they held the Bucks match off. I was worried that they were going to end up throwing that on there too. So it's nice to give us something to look forward to next week because I don't know. It doesn't feel like the storyline is going to include Moxley going forward. This Kenny Omega storyline. Didn't he? I thought he. No, you're right. He didn't get a rematch, did he? They just went their separate ways. Right. Right. Something like that. Yeah, and they don't have the trinity of matches. I mean, the closest they came to it was the Kingston Moxley. But that was just two matches. It was nice to see Moxley do something that was an actual match because, like I said, that was probably the first actual wrestling match he's had since he's been in the company. Um, but how does that look for Moxley the first time he actually has a wrestling match, he loses? The first time, but if you think about it too, it wasn't really just a wrestling match either. There was a lot of Moxley in there. Right. Yeah, which was yep. Yeah, it did. And TNT has been known before to get their commercial breaks done and let it roll a full half hour. I don't know why they didn't choose to do that for this match. I really think they should have. Well, yeah, and it was and they was there a single match on the entire card that didn't have commercial break? Yeah, that's probably the only one that didn't. But that, as far as battle royals go, that was over way too quick. But I guess it's a TV battle royal, so it's not like it's going to take an hour. Oh yeah, yeah. And I felt like they overdid the whole. I mean, at this point, we already know Sammy and MJF don't like each other. I don't think we needed to have that whole battle royal thing to further it. Cause no, because, and I mean, the fact that it happened is fine. The fact that the announcers dwelled on it for the remainder of the match is what bugged me. Yeah, right. And that was the other part that I felt like was a little overdone. Like, why would Jericho assume that Sammy would be out there to throw in the towel? With the history that they have, oh, Jericho thinks it's Sammy that came out with the towel. Really? Come on. Year and a half. When has that ever happened? Ever. So, yep, yeah, that kind of bugged me too. There, there were just little gaps in stories here and there that bothered me. All in all, I did feel like the show was a big show, even though it was droned on and on throughout the entire thing that we were supposed to feel like it was big, but it did feel big. It's not like they didn't deliver. Oh, really? Uh, I guess I'm not saying that every match felt like a main event match because it doesn't, not even on a pay per view. But when you threw in the battle royal, it's the first time or was that on free TV last year? Okay, but regardless, I mean, they threw in the battle royal, so that felt like a big deal, and then they also did the it was over too quick, but it was the fact that it was the match type, not necessarily the match itself. The match type felt like a big deal. Do you know what I mean? Do you know? It wasn't the fact that it was a great match. It was just the fact that it was um, a unique match that only comes around once a year because it was for the Battle Bowl ring. Um, which their explanation of having the final two meet in an actual match, so it wasn't the payoff. This wasn't the payoff match. This was the like number one contender match. And that was another knock that I had on it is you put a guy like Page who you're trying to build into the next um eventually is probably going to be the guy that beats Omega for the title. Uh, and when you're trying to build Page up, that's the one thing about this Page storyline that bothers me is it seems like they start to push him and then he gets thrown out right away in a battle royal. Which right, why is this is supposed to be one of the big guys in your company and he can't even make it to the final 3 or final 4 or something and right. Well, I know his was a lot to solidify his heel turn. I mean, with his throwing out Mark, I I guess, I mean, if you think about it, because Paige is one of the most over guys in the company. So, no, yeah, and that's kind of the weirdness that I had too, because it doesn't feel like his heel turn is completed. He was just a jerk and eliminated his friends. You know, I see where you're coming from there because I mean, when I'm hearing everything I read online and saw people's comments, is they were talking about Matt Hardy's heel turn and how that was the solidification of it. But now that you mention it, is that really what did he do other than eliminate his friends? You know, right, but not necessarily a heel. And his promo that he had last week was one of the better promos he's done in a while, and that was kind of a heelish. And I remember saying, I hope he stays with this character now for a while. He never should have won the feud with Sammy. And I get it. The good guys are always the ones that people want to see win, and that's why he won and whatever. Yeah, I think every now and then the young up and coming heel can actually win a feud. I think the last time I saw a heel actually win a feud would have been AJ against Cena. Because I mean, if you think about it, all the right, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think he is. I think because yeah, I think you're right. But when can you think of another time when a heel actually won a feud? Maybe the North in a couple of their tag team feuds. And see, that would have been one I would have thrown out there, but ultimately because he lost the title back to Naito and then never got another shot. Um, oh, did he? Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, yep, you're right, you're right. But it's the fact that he still lost the feud, regardless of how you look at it. The fact that the belt back on Naito, right? Yeah, that is true. But that's what I'm saying is I think when you look at an actual feud that has its big payoff match, the heels don't win them. And that's sad. Like it would have been nice to see Sammy actually win that feud, but ultimately it wasn't going to happen. Yeah, he did, didn't he? I mean, you knew there was no way in hell he was going to lose the final deletion match or the elite deletion. Yeah, there was no way in hell he was going to lose that. Well, the one with did they do two of them in AEW or was that the only one in AEW? Oh, oh yeah, yeah. That was a hell of a moment right there. Okay, it's nice to see Tracy Williams get a rub like that. Oh yeah, shocking. But yeah, I like this new EC3 character. Yeah, I really like it. Right, right, exactly. And I like the fact I don't know how Impact lost out on him, but Ring of Honor really if this is the way he's going to be going forward, they got to steal. They literally stole EC3 from every major company out there. Yeah, I'd kind of like to see how that got set up too. That would actually be nice. Oh, oh, nice. Yeah, that whole lifeblood thing must be over now. Right. Well, the whole lifeblood thing. Yeah, and the fact that it was their whole thing with lifeblood was the fact that the three of the five original members only were there for 2 weeks of TV and then never showed up again. Right. And then Emma, whatever her name is, Tennille Dashwood, ended up leaving the company. and then it was just the remaining three, which was Bandito, Williams, and Haskins. And is Haskins even still in Ring of Honor? Has he been around for a while? Or is he, because of COVID, still in? Who did? Oh, okay. I didn't. I must be having issues with my hearing today because I didn't hear you. But GYV, yeah. But yeah, okay, yeah. Well, didn't Walter show up on NXT not too long ago either? I can't remember. Nice. Well, and then didn't you say Pat McAfee's stable is still going strong? So they did turn Ollie Yui face then. Well, that's good. But I mean, that's good because that was one of the things I really didn't want to see happen was having Cole and O'Reilly as face and Fish and Strong stay heels. There's such a good faction that breaking them up is just the wrong move. Right. Which is, yeah, it used to be basically Cole and Roddy. And then you might get a sentence or two out of O'Reilly and Fish, but that's good to give him a little more mic time. Yeah. And it's fine that it's nice that they finally, realized that and finally took him out, which, and I will say this about NXT, they don't screw up much. They really don't. I mean, they do a good job with their talent, and they do a good job of recognizing who's good and who isn't. I mean, yeah, they messed up with EC3. They never really gave him the chance he probably should have had. Um, they messed up with I can't think of the other guy. But basically everything they do though is gold. That's the thing. Right. No. Well, yeah, because a year ago wasn't she an Evolve still? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Who is the champion? In Okay. All right. And it did have you heard where Kairi Sane went? Did she just go back to Japan? Oh, okay. I guess I didn't realize that. I just knew that she left the company. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. Because wasn't Nyla? not Nyla Rose. I can't remember her name now. Nia Jax that really messed her up with that buckle bomb. Right. Okay. Right. Makes sense. Trying to think of what else is going on. It's not. It's really been kind of quiet few weeks in the wrestling world. Just really the big news is what Kenny did. Yeah. Too many tournaments right in a row. Like we just got done with the G1. And not only that, but it was what was the one before that? The New Japan Cup. Didn't that just happen too? And there was the US version of the G1 too. So it just I'm right there with you. I love the fact that Japan does their tournaments to determine contenders. I wish everyone would do that. It would make a whole lot more sense than AEW's number one contendership stuff, uh, especially since they're not following a ranking system that makes any sense anyway. But the so I like the tournament, but I'm right there with you. I'm just tournamented out. There's been we've seen what 7 tournaments in the last 3 months, 4 months. So yeah, yeah, I get that. Definitely get that. It's just too much. Jacob, you have to break it, right? So yeah, I'm actually this is one I'll actually watch. I might not watch the whole show, but I'll definitely watch the match. After last year's war game match, I can't miss another one. I felt like that one was so good. I love the men's match. I love just but anything that's got Pete Dunne in it, of course, I'm gonna love it. Yep, right. Yep. Yeah, I don't know that I've ever been a fan of, and I don't know where that started. I don't ever remember WCW being obsessed with weapons in their war games matches. Yeah, I don't ever remember that. That was the thing about it. It was to settle right. Yeah, and I mean that was the thing about having the war games matches. It was just to get you or to get the um to pay off the feud. But yeah, that I mean I really enjoyed last year's even with the weapons. I just there were so many spots in it that I liked that I thought it might have been one of the better ones I've seen though. Definitely beat out anything that they did in MLW. Yeah, that's true. Oh, I do too. I've always well, and he's the guy that always deserved it. Even in Impact, you could see he had all kinds of talent. Is he still horrible? Okay, that makes sense. Oh, okay. Oh, so he took over. And that's another one that just got ruined by the machine. They took Dominic Dijakovic and turned him into a joke. Oh, no, because they're a joke. Literally, I mean, they came out this big force, and they were going to be the next big faction to come in. They announced Mustafa Ali as their leader, and then they went on to lose pretty much every match they've been in. So yeah, I mean, and not it's not like they're losing. It's not like Nexus with John Cena. They're not losing to John Cena. They're losing to just average wrestlers. So yeah, I just don't know how they can do such a like Dijakovic and Keith Lee became two just because of their feud became just amazing in NXT. And then, they go up to the main roster and they're just nobodies. Yeah, Keith Lee is I think he's I think he beat I think he yeah, I can't remember if he's oh, because it was probably too painful and what was what was oh, yeah. You just took a drink of something and I thought maybe it was your coffee that was off-putting. Oh, I found the cinnamon toast crunch creamer. That's my shit now. Yeah, I love that stuff. It's definitely gotten that way for me. I put way too much creamer in my coffee. How was it? I heard that that was actually done well, right? Oh wow. I guess I'm just used to everything being a line nowadays. Yeah, that's a little crazy. Were you at least in line in your car so you could listen to the radio or something? Yeah, so I'm watching Jacob play a Lego game, because Arlo turned it on, and it's one of the most confusing things I've ever seen in my life, some of the stuff he does. Yeah. I think he's doing it out of boredom. He's just like, I don't know why I'm playing this. I'm just playing it." And so he'll like he'll like drive into a tree just for no apparent reason. Like it's not even like it's one of those things where like he'll be driving along the road perfectly fine, everything's going great, and he'll just take a hard left into a tree. Yeah, it's not, it's bizarre. It's just bizarre. I don't know. It's just I've been watching him this whole time, and some of the stuff he's doing is just like literally just a hard left into a tree for no reason. There's absolutely no reason for it. Yeah, I'm starting to think he should have his license taken away after watching this. I got nothing, man. I think it's just been a slow few weeks, and I think the highlight was definitely the Kenny story. I was watching something, and I want to just kind of bring this because I watch these lists, especially the what culture stuff a lot. And I was watching another one of those their countdown things, and they did this where they were talking about the greatest feuds, um, by era or by year since 1990. And of course, it was Hogan and Ultimate Warrior 90, and 97 was Bret Hart versus um, uh, Steve Austin, which I don't know if that was better than Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. No. Yeah, or even Michaels versus Hart, I felt would have been a solid one too. Because that probably the two best feuds in the 90s, outside of the NWA, because they did have in 96, they had the NWO versus WCW. That was such a horseshit payoff. Yeah, but the Bret and Shawn thing led to more greatness. I mean, the Hogan Sting thing was just more of a um, horrible clusterfuck with a bad match because you had two guys who hadn't wrestled, or one guy who hadn't wrestled in over a year, and another guy who was hurt. And then it was more of them trying to recreate something that they couldn't pull off with the Bret Hart stuff. They were trying to recreate the fast count, but Nick Patrick actually counted normal. So it just the payoff was so bad. I mean, yeah, I would say that that was probably one of the better feuds. In '98, they had Austin McMahon, which is really hard to disagree with. But another one that came to my mind in '98 was Page versus Savage. That was a hell of a feud too. I thought that was '98. Yeah, they didn't have that on there, but they did, and then it took them till 2000 to have Triple H versus The Rock as a feud. Because they went in his countdown, he went back to back McMahon versus Austin, which that is really hard to disagree with in '98 and '99. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I thought that was probably. I mean, the Mc. Yeah, and they had Foley versus Orton in '05. as another one that was a big the feud of the year. They had yeah, it's I think the way, and it was Simon Miller. I usually like his countdowns, but this one had some stuff that I just went, huh? And I get where he's coming from. Yeah, it's his list. You know, that's the thing about lists is you make your list, it's your opinion. So that's his opinion. But it was something that I really wanted to kind of debate just because it had a few parts of it that were um weird to me. Like I why was yeah, right. Yeah, he cracks me up. Every time he does these videos, he cracks me up. But he had and where I was going with this is he had the feud of the I mean, he and of course he had Ciampa versus Gargano in 17. He had Cole versus Gargano in 18. He had Sasha Banks versus Bailey in but in 16. I think it was Gargano Cole. Or okay, then it was Champa Gargano in 18. And then so it must have been 17 that was Sasha Banks and oh yeah, cuz 2016 was Cena versus AJ was his feud, and but his 2020 feud was Page versus Omega. And I'm trying to think now, he did have some Japanese feuds in there. Um yeah, and that's what I was were they ever really at odds? I mean, they were a tag team and best friends there for damn near half the year. It that one kinda sat wrong with me. I mean, maybe it'll turn into a feud in 2021, but as far as 2020, I know it was a messed up year because of COVID, but you don't think that the Sammy Tessa feud was better than that? Or Evil? Yeah. I probably would go Evil versus Naito just because of the fact that they, um, cemented a story that started 3 years ago in one tournament. And then they've been feuding ever since. But I just when I look at that list, it can't be Page versus Omega. No, because they're and we even commented that they had their big blow off match, and it didn't feel like a big deal. It didn't feel like they right, exactly. It just felt like two guys that were going out there. They're friends, but they're going their separate ways. Kind of like an Edwards Richards type thing. When the Edwards Richard feud initially started. It was just them wanting to see who was the better guy. No, no, and like you said, I mean, we got Naito Evil that I'd probably go with. I think, uh, yep, that was a good feud. Even Sammy versus Matt was a better feud because that was an actual feud. Drew McIntyre, yeah, yeah. From what I understand, that was a pretty good feud too. Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole. I you took Because, I mean, that took one of the most hated villains in the company and made him a face in a couple of weeks. Right, exactly. So, yeah, I wanted to hear what your thoughts were because I didn't that one kinda sat wrong. I mean, there were a few others in there that were just like, "What, really?" But I couldn't really think of anything better. It's hard to argue McMahon Austin, even though there was so much other like Sting versus the NWO that was a year-long feud. And then same thing with Page versus Savage was a hell of a feud. There was just a lot of good feuds in that couple. Oh, well, I'm trying to think in 2019, what other feud would there have been? Arlo, can you come put away these markers before your cat loses them all? I asked you to do that earlier. Oh, that's right, they did. They only had. Or how about and I know it's he's really Simon Miller's really limited on the yeah, and I know Sammy's really or Simon and What Culture, they're really limited. They don't watch like MLW and things like that. But um that faction that Jacob Fatu was in, um them against Contra Unit against anybody in what was that 2018? Was it 19? Okay, yeah. So I mean that the Contra versus um you know Team Filthy with Lawler and Von Erichs was a hell of a good feud. So I mean, there was a lot of good feuds out there. The North versus the Rascals was another good one. Yeah, you do. I like the matches. I mean, I thought they were all classics. I loved every one of the matches. Well, yeah, and that's the same as like in 97, 98. It's hard to argue against McMahon Austin because you just look at the numbers and that was it. But, there's still so many other feuds out there that you can consider. I wish that when he does these lists, like I like the fact that he does them, but I wish during his spiel he would give like the other close ones or the other runner up or something like that, uh, so that you could actually see his thought process a little bit more. Yeah, there were a lot in 2019 that could have gone there, but I'm not gonna. Oh God, that is a hard one. Or White versus Okada. I suppose the Yeah, I guess you're right because White versus Okada was pretty much the end of 18, and they had their blow off on at Wrestle Kingdom, and then Okada spent the first half of the year with pink hair and giving out balloons. Right. Yeah, that is true. Don't wrestle again. Yeah, it's I remember after that last one that there were so many, um, the spots that they did on the apron that I was just like, "Guys, come on, no more. Do not let these 2 wrestle again." Um, well, alright, good, it's fine. But it's that you're right, that was a hell of a good feud too. Oh, and, uh, I was reading somewhere something about, um, and I don't know where I was reading it, but didn't Ibushi sign a lifetime contract with NJPW? Okay, because I was reading somewhere, and I know it's crap because I could have swore it was like a lifetime contract, but they were saying talking about how a reuniting of the Golden Lovers in AEW with Ibushi coming over, but I think if that was going to happen, that would have happened in 2018 when they started AEW, right? Yeah, and I for some reason I was under the impression it was a lifetime contract he signed, kind of like Bret Hart's lifetime contract that lasted 6 months. Okay. Well, either way, it's not going to happen. He's not coming to AEW. So anybody who's thinking that, stop. Just stop. Stop thinking it. Yeah, yeah. I won't have kids, so it'll go a little bit easier. Oh, all right. Yeah, let me know. We can do it whenever. So, I'm kind of interested though to see how this Impact AEW stuff works out. But man, if we can get a cross working promotion and them actually putting together matches, there's such a long list of matches I want to see. Right. But it's this working relationship. It'll just be great. Absolutely outstanding. Oh man, Eddie Edwards versus Kenny Omega. Oh my God, that would be great too. Jesus, Eddie versus Sammy would be that contrast, and Sammy works so well with everybody. Yeah. Oh my God, Sammy Callahan versus uh, Matt Hardy would be a fun one, but because I don't think we ever saw that, did we? Matt was gone from Impact by the time Sammy got there. But a broken Matt against Sammy would be just incredible on the mic. Jericho versus Ken Shamrock. Let the two old guys duke it out. I had to throw just one bad one in there. All right, I'll talk to you. Yeah, okay, guys. Yeah, and please hit a like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. Check out our Twitters. I'm Regi Co-op. He's at Zanman LOP, and of course our Patreon, patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. Wow. Goodbye, everyone.